everyone, and welcome to another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Rhea. I am your host, and I'm very pleased to welcome back Lee Harris from ATPI Travel. How are you, Lee?
Yeah, really good. Sun shining. We're coming up to Easter as well, so a long weekend for most people, so it should be quite nice.
Well, for most people.
I specifically said most people, Rhea. As I know, you'll probably not even take Easter Sunday off.
I'm lucky if I get like a quarter of a day on a Saturday off.
Yeah. I doubt that is exactly the reason why I said it.
One day, one can hope.
One day.
Right, into the world of travel. And you know what? We've got a humdinger for you this week. It's air traffic control strikes. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, several popular European destinations are set to be hit by industrial action that could derail travel plans for thousands. France, Italy, and Spain have already confirmed upcoming strike activity affecting their major airports, while Germany and Belgium are also facing potential walkouts that could materialise with little warning. Now, the most severe disruption is expected on Saturday when both France and Italy will undergo 24-hour nationwide strikes. Experts warn the ripple effect could throw European airspace into chaos, causing rerouting, delays, and widespread congestion. The latest updates from European aviation unions highlight the following critical dates. Now, for France, nationwide air traffic control strikes are on April the 19th and again on April the 25th with possible extensions. Italy have a 24-hour national strike scheduled for April the 19th across all major airports. Spain have rolling air traffic control strikes in Madrid and Barcelona from April the 20th to April the 30th. Germany and Belgium, industrial action under consideration. Disruption may occur without advance notice. Obviously, crew bound for France, Italy, or Spain are especially urged to keep in contact with their respective airlines and travel provider for updates. What I would say, though, is that any crew traveling through Europe, not necessarily even to or from Europe, but even if you're traveling through Europe, you really do need to keep in contact either with the airline or the travel provider because it could get a little bit messy this weekend.
What a week.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, I think. And especially for travel agents working this weekend, they could be a little bit busy.
I can imagine. It's going to be insane. I mean, of all the weekends, well, I mean, you know what? When you're going to strike, you got to pick the best one because you're going to really prove, I think, how necessary your job is if you're not there to do it.
Yeah, exactly right. That's the thing, isn't it? And what better weekend to do it than Easter weekend? There's going to be hundreds of thousands of travellers, so it's the perfect time to go for strike action.
Well, it's a good thing I'm staying home.
It's a good job you're working.
I don't remember the last time I was on an airplane anyway, but it seemed appropriate to say. Oh, sad. Anyways, moving on. Vietnam has some news.
Yeah, so with the upcoming med season and crew looking at what to do with their time off when they're not when on rotation, the Vietnamese government has extended the visa waiver policy for 8 countries in the Schengen area, allowing their passport holders to enter Vietnam visa-free until 2028. Now, this measure applies to nationals and passport holders of France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. These travellers will be eligible to enter Vietnam without a visa until March the 14th, 2028, allowing them to enjoy visa-free travel for a period of up to 45 days. Now, citizens of Switzerland, the Czech Republic, and Poland are also eligible to enter Vietnam without visa as part of the country's efforts to maintain its policy of openness. Now, currently, Vietnam is also working on its e-visa system, which will enable travellers to obtain visas online. These are usually valid for periods of up to 90 days and can be for single or multiple entry visas.
And the U.S. has some news about identification to get on airplanes.
Yeah, almost 2 decades ago, Congress approved the 2005 Real ID Act, which demands stricter federal standards for issuing identification cards. Now, the actual implementation of the standards have been pushed back multiple times, including because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But now the Transportation Security Administration, or the TSA, is readying for enforcement. Now, the agency, in a release dated April 11th, said that travellers with a non-compliant ID will face additional screening measures and possible travel delays starting on May the 7th, the day that enforcement finally goes into effect. Now, on May the 7th, TSA will no longer accept state-issued identifications that are not real ID compliant at TSA security checkpoints. All airline passengers 18 years and older, including TSA pre-check members, must present real ID compliant identification or another acceptable ID, such as a passport, at TSA security checkpoints, said the release. TSA also said that for passengers who present a non-compliant state-issued identification without another acceptable alternative, such as a passport, they should expect to face delays as well as additional screening. There is also a possibility of passengers not being permitted into the security checkpoint. Currently, TSA said that 81% of travellers are presenting acceptable identification, such as real ID, but it does mean 19% at this moment in time are not. So they do need to be careful, especially with the date looming.
They still have a TSA in the States.
Yeah.
They haven't been all fired yet.
Not yet. They're still there. They're hanging in.
I shouldn't joke. I'm sorry, but really shocked that they actually have a government left to implement anything, to be honest. Right. And Delta Airlines has some news.
Yeah, as part of Delta Airlines' latest international expansion, it plans to return to Grenada, last served in 2020, and most notably, begin its first ever flights to St. Vincent. Both will be flown from Atlanta, the carrier's busiest hub and the world's busiest airport. Delta will inaugurate service to the two Caribbean destinations in December, when it plans to fly to 26 airports across the region. Delta will inaugurate its first ever service to St. Vincent, and it will be the only time St. Vincent and the Grenadines have had Atlanta flights. Now, along with St. Vincent and Grenada, Delta will also be operating to other yachting hotspots in time for the new Caribbean season. And this literally is going to make it the best travel options for crew since I've been in travel, to be honest with you, for the Caribbean season. They're going to be hitting hotspots such as St. Martin, St. Thomas, Antigua, and Nassau. So if there is any crew who are, I know it's still early and we're only now getting into the med season, but if there are any crew who need help with med season and Caribbean season coming up at later this year, please reach out to me directly.
That's always been an issue, eh? Whenever you talk to anybody about heading to the Caribbean in order to work, the stories that you hear, it takes like almost an extra day if you're flying from Europe just to get from the US to the Caribbean.
Yeah, it can be. It's a complete and utter pain. It's not easy. And the problem you've got as well is that the demand is such that flights are just so overly busy. So it's not just the fact that it takes you a long time to get there. You tend to find the prices, for anybody budgeting, the Caribbean season does tend to be a lot more expensive than the med season, or people who are based in the US, or even as far as the South Pacific. If I know it's very difficult to say for yachts, especially ones who are on charter and stuff, to organise themselves that far in advance. But what I would say is, if anybody can get their rotations in place and flights booked as early as possible, then that is definitely something that they need to look at doing.
Right. And of course, if you have any questions for Lee, or you're looking to book some travel, we will provide all of his information below this interview when it airs. Lee, I want to say thank you. I think I'm going to knock on wood, because I think we're on a bit of a run here. This is 3 weeks in a row without, the caddy and your homework in between.
We are. We're free for free. Next week, I'll be doing it on location. I'm in Nice next week. So yeah, we'll do it Wednesday from my hotel room in Nice.
And we get to see your hotel room.
You get to see what you can. Yeah, I'll take away this generic airport backing, and you can see my hotel room.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So exciting. I don't know how you're holding on to your hat at the moment. It's the most exciting thing that's happened to this show in years.
I know. I mean, maybe you could just go outside and have some little notes in your hand and set up your phone on a cheap tripod, because I hear China is really good at those. And
I'll get down the promenade.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Just showing something nice instead of what you usually show.
Yeah, that's a thought. It just means I have to do it in public and people can see me as they're walking past. Wow.
It's not like you're ever going to see them ever again anyway.
That's very true. That is very true. Yeah.
And it's not like people aren't used to seeing that kind of thing nowadays.
Oh, exactly right. Yeah. I'm sure I probably won't be the only person doing it when I'm standing there.
Well, usually it's like people jumping out of planes and off cliffs and stuff like that. But,
Who knows? There may be.
maybe you can do a little TikTok dance for us at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I better start learning one.
Right, Lee. Thank you as always. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you next week.
Indeed. Yep. Looking forward to it.
With a little TikTok dance. You've been watching another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Rhea. I have been your host. And on behalf of Lee Harris and myself, we'll see you again next week.